How might your life be different if you had a peer group that inspired and encouraged you?
Yes.
How could your life be different if you got invited to cool things on the weekend?
Oh, wake up, rethink the status quo. When you get your money right, then you're the one who runs your life. Come build a wealthy spirit with Sammie and Michelle.
Hello, everyone. Today we are talking to Nick Gray, the author of The 2-Hour Cocktail Party. Nick Gray is quickly becoming the go-to specialist for party planning. He wrote the book, The 2-Hour Cocktail Party, which we absolutely loved and are excited to talk about today. This book is a step-by-step manual for hosting a party, but it's so much more than that. In The 2-Hour Cocktail Party, Nick strategically helps face any fears you may have about throwing a party so that anyone can find and build community wherever they are. He covers everything from icebreakers, the importance of name tags, who to invite and in what order, as well as how to end the party and send everyone on their way. Nick Gray has an eclectic background. He is also known for being the founder of Museum Hack. Plus, he creates high-energy YouTube videos around parties, travel, and behind-the-scenes look at creator events. It seems that he also has a passion for Bollywood, as he helped produce an unofficial music video for Bachana e Hasino in Mumbai.
Yeah, that was amazing, by the way. That was so fun. Thank you for the nice intro.
It looked amazing. It looked so fun. And we always love a Bollywood fan on the podcast.
Yes.
Welcome, Nick.
Okay, welcome. Hello. Kasakai. Great. I'm looking forward to hanging out.
Yes. And Nick, we have to ask you up top because you wrote the 2-Hour Cocktail Party. You host so many parties. You've done them in New York. You do them in Austin. You've attended so many. Were you always like this social, extroverted person? Were you that kid in school? Or is this something that came upon later in life? We'd love to know a little bit of like the backstory there.
You know what? In high school, when I turned 18, my parents threw a surprise birthday party for me. I was not very popular. I was not like the cool kid. I was very nerdy in high school. And I moved at the end of my 9th grade high school from the suburbs of Dallas, Texas to North Georgia.
Oh, wow.
It's not a good story. To suffice it to say that I was completely shocked. I was like, what are all these people doing here? Why are these people? I was so confused and I didn't think I had any friends and I was not very popular. I barely got a date to my senior prom. And then even when I moved to New York years later, I didn't know how to meet people. I would go to these bars or networking events and I would leave, like not meeting anybody, feeling like it was my fault and I was an idiot and I was just never going to be good at this. And that's why I started to host parties.
That makes complete sense. And why do you think it is so hard to make friends as an adult?
I think everybody has so much going on. And with remote work now and our schedules, I think we're awkward also. We don't really know how sometimes to meet people. I've heard guys saying before, I don't know. Do you think it's harder for guys that sometimes it's like, do you want to be my friend? And they're just like, they don't know what to say, you know?
It's too vulnerable.
It's too vulnerable. And it's like, what do you say even? I don't know. It can be hard for some people, you know? Some people might be listening to this and be like, it's not hard to make friends. I have tons of friends. And I think that just increasingly, I think about the experience of people that are introverts or have social anxiety and what that is like for them. Because the reality is most people peak in college of making new friends.
Yeah.
Then what's the next place they peak? The next time you peak is when you start a new job. And now with remote working, with more and more, we don't have that water cooler energy. We don't have that, let's go for drinks after work. It's just so different. And it's hard to meet people. And I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. I'll say that. I hear from a lot of people who are struggling with it.
Yeah. And I think what I loved about your book is places like work, it's people maybe you wouldn't choose to hang out with versus you might meet somebody quickly at an exercise class, but are you going to then ask them on a friend date essentially?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I love about the 2-hour cocktail party, because it almost creates a little excuse to get all these people you kind of know lightly and hang out with them.
Sammie, you said the best thing, which was it gives you an excuse to hang out. I'm going to start to use that in all my stuff. We all need more excuses to see people. For many people, their birthday is the biggest excuse they have all year long to host an event. And some people don't even host a birthday party. By the way, I think I've secretly said that I want to do my next book, maybe, or something, about hosting your birthday party, how to make it the best.
Oh my
I
God.
believe I will die on this hill. I think you have to host your birthday party on your actual day of birth. None of this birthday week, birthday month, the weekend after. That's my thinking. What do y'all think about this?
Well, Nick, I have a plot twist for you.
Oh.
My birthday is New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Which, if you read the 2-hour cocktail party, you'll know is a terrible day to have a party. So I'm curious to know your
complicated.
thoughts, if that changes anything.
First of all, you are so lucky. This is good luck. Anyone knows Michelle knows that is an incredible good luck. I have a very good friend. His name is Noah, who was born on Christmas Day.
Oh my God.
I'm born in, late-ish December, so I always get the
Ooh.
combo Christmas birthday party gift. You're right. New Year's Eve is a red level day. It's what I call a red level day because it's socially competitive.
Yeah.
And we look to host parties on days that are not socially competitive for people to make it more of an experience. But also, Michelle, does everybody just buy you drinks all night long on New Year's Eve? Because you're like, it's my birthday.
Yes. I mean, for sure. I'll even go out the night before if I think it's better.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a very obnoxious person on my birthday. I have the crown.
Mhm.
I tell every single person that I meet. So it's
Good.
As soon as we get
Good.
the party and the group together, everything is fine. But it can definitely be, when you said in the book that it's a red level day to have a party, I empathized with that, having tried to plan many a New Year's Eve party.
It can be hard to host this. I don't know if we should just divert the podcast to talk about birthday party therapy for you, because you are carrying party trauma. A lot of my work now, I get to talk to people who read my book and they carry party trauma.
Yeah.
It's
so
true.
It's so true, right?
Mhm.
And so I find that I'm like a party therapist for people. But yes, I love to talk about events. I think people should host more parties. And like Sammie said, it's an excuse to see these people that you normally wouldn't see. I talked to a woman this morning from London, and she said, you know what? Someone was helping me with my groceries, and I had my arms full, and I had all this, I could barely reach something. And she said, this lady just jumped up, and she was like, let me help you with that. And she just had this spunk and this attitude. And the lady in her head was thinking, I want to be friends with her. This woman is so cool. She lives in my town. She's helping me. She's so nice. And she's like, what a great excuse the party would have been if she was planning it to invite this woman to say, hey, I know this is random, but I'm meeting interesting people in town and I'm hosting a little happy hour. Half people I know, half new friends. Can I send you the information to it? Because you seem cool and I really like your energy. Saying stuff like that to strangers, to so-called strangers, folks that you meet for the first time, that you want to have an excuse to see again, I'm interested in playing in that space.
Yeah. I mean, even just the way you just said it, I'm hosting a party, I'm meeting interesting people, half people I know, half people I don't. It doesn't sound weird at all. I think when you already are in that frame of mind and you're thinking about it, you can deliver it in a way that doesn't sound weird. Because I think that's my fear, where I'm afraid I'll be like, hey, thanks so much for carrying my groceries. I would love to get to know you. I don't have any friends. I think that's how Ted Bundy killed people. So I think it'd be nice to have a nice medium ground between us.
I like that. I'm hosting a party. I'm not a serial killer. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to invite people to things because it's vulnerable and we're afraid of rejection. The number one fear of a new host is that nobody will show up. And the number two fear is will my friends get along? Do I want to mix my friend buckets in these different circles? And so I hear a lot of that. I know it can be hard. I'd also encourage listeners to think how might your life be different if you had a peer group that inspired and encouraged you?
Yes.
How could your life be different if you got invited to cool things on the weekend? If you just had a different set of friends that did new things, most people kind of do the same things with the same people every weekend. But there's many out there that are just like you that are thinking, how could life be different? There's got to be more out there. This can't be it. I found through my experience that the best way to meet those people, build my network, whether it's professionally or personally, was to learn how to host a good event, because everyone wants to know someone who brings people together. That's the magic. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah. I always say, like, if you have an organized friend or the friend that builds the itinerary, we like joke that friend will always stay in the friend group. Like, it doesn't even matter if they're like not your favorite. You'll be like, this person will invite me to things. I know they'll show up if I invite them to things. They'll have a plan together. And I'm hoping this podcast inspires people to be that person, like in this episode, because reading the book, it's so clear, like the way you put it together, how to approach people, how to like set that up. And it feels way less daunting because you can kind of get into people's head and say, hey, here's a fear you might have. You might be afraid that nobody's going to show up. People do have that fear. I have something in place that you can help deal with that.
Yes. For all our listeners who are super organized, they're going to love this book because it's literally a step-by-step guide and it tells you exactly what to do. So to start the party, when you're looking at who to invite, how do you decide who to invite and in what order?
Okay, we have to start with this concept of a core group. And I'll tell you what a core group is.
Yes.
A core group is your closest friends. They're the friends that you feel comfortable with. They don't necessarily have to be best friends. Some people don't have best friends. But I'm talking about the people that you feel comfortable with, and that if only these people showed up to your party, if only these 5 came, you would still have a good time.
Yes.
For me and my core group, I think about my friend Noah, Neville, Catherine, Caitlin, and Jake. Let's just say those 5. These are people that if only they came, I would laugh, I would have fun, I would still have a good time. And when you invite those 5, you're going to use different language and wording than the language you use for the random lady in the grocery store. For your core group, you're going to be vulnerable and you're going to say, hey, I'm thinking of hosting a happy hour in 3 weeks on June 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. at my apartment. If I do it, would you come? Those are the key words. If I do it, would you come? And the reason you're going to ask that phrase is that you want to get 5 confirmed yeses. Because so much of our anxiety around hosting, so much of our fear and our worry is that no one will show up. And so because this is your core group, you're going to ask them to make a commitment. You're going to ask them to say, yes, I will come. And then not only will you get their yes, but then you're going to make them RSVP. And you're going to get that yes, and then you're going to say, great. Please fill out this form. It really helps me get a head count. And then you're going to use their RSVPs to serve as social proof, which is just a way of saying like, you know, look, other people are coming. I'm not going to be alone at my party. So that when you invite other people, they see that there's more names on the guest list, that more people are coming, that this is going to be a fun cocktail party. But the gist, Sammie, is that you start with your core group and then you grow it to a group I call your great guests.
Yeah. Speaking of party therapy, the last birthday party I had was a few years ago, and I approached my friends and I said, hey, I'm throwing a birthday party. And the mistake I made was that none of them were in town. And so the core group, I think it's so important because you're exactly right. Like all of a sudden I was trying to build a party where I didn't even know if I knew my closest friends wouldn't be there. Yeah. And when I asked my coworkers and I was asking random people, they were much more unsure. And I really couldn't pressure them the same way or like, you know, be that open as I could be with my friends. And so I love this idea of a core group because if they can't come, you can change your date. You can be flexible with them. You're building it around a strong foundation. And like you said, if nobody else comes, you get to hang out with your friends, which is like amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps. It helps. It's just the core group. And so there's some of these things, you know, the advice I'm telling y'all, it seems very common sense. It seems obvious, right? And I feel like a lot of this advice in my book, it's just things that I've learned through hosting hundreds of parties myself. And I learned that there's a formula to make events successful. And one of the things, for better or for worse, that a successful event is can you get people to show up?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that's 90% of the hard work. And it's definitely 90% of the stress and anxiety for people who don't host right now. So much of my book is about getting the RSVPs, getting them to show up, and different tips and tricks I found to make sure that happens.
Another thing I really liked in the book is sending out the bios of people that are going to the party to everybody before the party starts.
Yeah, that's my secret weapon. It's called guest bios. And it's a little blurb about people. So, for example, mine could be like, if Michelle was coming to my party, it could be like, Michelle likes to read books. She lived in Austin for a little while. Ask her about her podcast. It's just a little blurb that maybe might include a social link to your social media or your LinkedIn. Doesn't have to, but it helps to get the excitement going, to give people an idea who will be there. I think it gives introverts and those with social anxiety some confidence to know, what to talk about a little bit. And it also gets the buy-in of those who you include to like show up and to come hang out and say, look, I'm looking forward. I can't wait to introduce you to all these awesome people that are coming to my party.
I love that idea because I find when I go to a party and I don't know anybody there, or it's a group of people that I'm not too familiar with, a lot of times I find that I'll start to, like at the beginning, project onto them, like, oh, all these people went to school together. All these people know each other really well. All these people are hilarious or gregarious or whatever it is. And then by the end of the party, I'll realize I was totally wrong. I was just making all these assumptions and I was getting too much in my head. And I think having a bio at least gives you that sense of, oh, okay, this is like a variety of people. I know they have different interests. We might have stuff in common that I wasn't expecting, instead of spending half the time in your head and half the time trying to find those similarities.
Did either of you go through a phase in the last, let's say, 5 years where you were hosting, if not regularly, just occasionally? And if so, I'm curious what worked well when you did host.
So we hosted this wine tasting party and it was bomb. I think, so we invited a bunch of different type of people, but we did kind of have our core group there as well. Like we did have our main friends there. And everybody was supposed to bring a bottle of wine, which we then like hid in a paper bag so that we all had to like try to guess the wine.
That's cool.
Yes, I think like having the activity kind of created like an excuse for people to talk to each other, even if they didn't know each other. So it really brought everybody together. Yeah,
and at the beginning, we like got everybody together. We said, here's the game, here's the forms, this is how you participate. At the end, we got everybody together again. We went through each bottle and we're like, okay, what do you guys think about? What year is this? What color is this? And nobody was a wine expert, but people had a ton of fun, obviously drank a lot of wine, and people got really into it, even though, no one really knew what they were talking about, and it was super fun. And so even just having those two like points in the party, I think gathering people and introducing like this idea and like this activity was like so helpful, I think. And we think of that as one of our best parties that we've thrown.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you make. You're right, Michelle, that beginning part where we introduce a topic and then that end part where we reveal what the wines are, it creates like a little arc of like how the party's going to go.
I like that. I love that idea. And what you did, you're talking about it as an arc of where the party's going. I think about it as the structure, that you gave people a little bit of structure. And my general thing is, you don't have to follow my formula. I found one formula that works, but there's other formulas as well. There's other structures that work. But generally, I find we need more structure rather than less at parties, because the expectation now is that there is no structure. The expectation today for most social gatherings is simply show up and hang out. And you know who loves gatherings like that is extroverts and drunk people.
It's so true.
Yeah, and we don't even drink anymore, so we can't do any more wine taste. I mean, I guess we could, but it's true. It's a different space, and the structure, having the structure is so nice. And you mentioned, it can seem like common sense when you're like reading your instructions in the book, but I think having thrown a couple parties and seeing like the birthday party versus the wine tasting, I can actually see like, oh, this is what we were sort of implementing that worked right. Like, the wine tasting was kind of a bit of an icebreaker, and we kind of were gathering everybody together at the beginning of the end, and it provided structure, versus we didn't really have much of that. When I had my birthday party, nobody knew each other. We didn't really introduce people. And mostly like it just was a half and half, like kind of a little bit of an awkward experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the structure, it helps so much. And the quote unquote common sense, as they say, is not so common. It just becomes more clear as you're throwing parties that there are certain things that you didn't think about, but it's helpful to have those in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of introducing people and things you don't think about, one thing I love about your book and your parties is the name tags.
Yeah, I love name tags. And by the way, for those that are listening to us, I want to say that Sammie and Michelle are wearing name tags right now, which is incredible. And I feel like I'm the naked one who's not wearing a name tag. Usually I'm the only weirdo who's like at a party and someone's like, "Did you bring your own name tag?" And I'm like, "Why, yes, I did." Yeah, but I like name tags. Number one, because I'm bad with names.
Yeah.
But number two, look, I'm going to tell you why I like name tags through a story, because I talked to a kid in London this morning who read my book and hosted his first party. He said, "Party was a huge success. I did everything from your book except for the name tags." He said, "I just couldn't get behind the name tags." And I said, "That's okay. That's all right. Let's talk about it, because it is one of the most important things.
Yeah.
Let's work through this." I said, "What are you thinking about that?" And he's like, "Well, it felt too formal. It felt too much like a networking event. It felt like I was in my own home and, my friends are young, and it didn't go well." I said, "All right, that's fine." I said, "Like, did everybody know each other?" "Oh, no, absolutely not. Most people didn't know anybody at all. It was all these different groups. In fact, it was some people that I just met." I said, okay. I said, "And what was your goal? Like, did you want people to talk to new people, or did you want it to be like a cliquey party?" He's like, "Oh, no. I want everybody to talk and to meet new people." I was like, okay. I said, "Listen, when you have name tags, they signify to new people that this is not a party of cliques. This is not a party where everybody knows each other. And I want you to imagine what that experience is like to be invited. Imagine you're on the other side of that grocery store invite, where somebody says, 'I would love for you to come over and meet some of my friends.' Now, that's equally exciting and terrifying, because I have this idea that everybody knows each other. I'm the outsider. I'm the one on the perimeter. Nobody knows me. I don't know anyone. I'm going to be responsible to make small talk. I have to introduce myself all night long, blah, blah, blah." When you wear name tags, when you have name tags at your party, it shows that everyone is on the same team. It shows that we are all a part of the team where it's a safe space to go and say hi to somebody new. It shows, by the way, I'm not good with names myself, and it's so helpful for me, especially for friends that have difficult names or things. I went to a dinner party on Sunday, and there was a guy there whose name was Elad, E-L-A-D. And thankfully, I brought my own name tags, as I do. But have you ever been to a party with a friend who has a difficult name, and all night they're saying what their name is? How do you say, "Wait, what's your name?" They're asking them questions. How do you spell that? I don't know. What's that experience like for those people? If you're listening to this podcast and that is you are one of those people with the difficult names, I would love to hear what you think about name tags, because I have a hunch that name tags are a more inclusive environment for people with different non-standard names. And I believe creating a more inclusive environment for those that are not good with names, with difficult names, that are new to the circle, it simply shows that we're all there for the same purpose, which is to meet new people. And so for that purpose, I believe name tags are so helpful to make the party from the foundation a space where people are having a lot of new conversations.
Nick, you're inspiring me to wear a name tag everywhere. Next time I go to the grocery store, I'm like, I'm going to wear a name tag.
Sammie, can I dare you to do that?
It's funny because everybody does know who I am in our small town, but...
Yes.
No, but it would help a lot because Sammie knows everybody in town because she's the town provider. Nobody knows me. If you're familiar with us at all, you might be familiar with the fact that everybody thinks we're twins. And when I go to the grocery store as Michelle, I can tell that people are looking at me, and it's this very interesting experience where I think they think I'm Sammie. And I don't know what to do about it. And I don't necessarily acknowledge it. And sometimes I just pretend like it's nothing. But the other day, the cashier was telling me about how she's taking this natural allergy medicine and how she really hopes it works. And at first I thought it was a casual conversation, but then she kept mentioning it. And I was like, oh, I have to be very careful because I'm pretty sure she thinks I'm Sammie.
Michelle's like, I love it. I love it. And then it's like toxic chemicals inside. She's like, she said it was okay.
I love this. I also like the idea of Michelle wearing a name tag that says not Sammie.
Yeah.
But I think this is such a good idea. And I would challenge you, Michelle. I don't know if you'll take me up on it. But sometime when y'all both go out, I love the idea of you both wearing name tags.
Oh my god.
And I think that would be so cute. There used to be something in New York City that we had, and it was in other cities as well. It was called Name Tag Day.
Oh,
and for one day, I volunteered at it. We handed out name tags to people on the street. And we said, look, we want to encourage you in a big city like New York to just wear a name tag and see if it starts new conversations. And sure enough, it did. People would report back. They talked to people on the subway and the elevator. It's a weird conversation starter on the streets, and it's kind of interesting to do.
Yeah, actually we should. One, because we have this giant pack of name tags now. So we can literally wear them everywhere.
Yes.
And this is a real problem that we have. One that I empathize with people, but it does put them in a tough spot. Plus when you add in like our cousin, our, some of our friends, like, I don't know, we've all just kind of merged into one, I think. One time, I remember when I was in my early 20s, a guy came up to me and he was like, hey, Sammie. And I was like, oh no, I'm Michelle. We had a conversation. Then he, on Facebook, goes to my cousin Julie and wrote, hey, it was great meeting you tonight. And she was like, I have never met you. And again, I don't blame them. But a name tag probably would have helped a lot in that situation.
Yes. And I love that it's an excuse for people to talk to us, too.
That's true.
It's a great excuse for people to talk. It's really nice. It's nice. You don't have to go that extreme to wear name tags out to the grocery store. But at a gathering where people don't know each other, not everybody knows each other. By the way, Michelle probably remembers this graphic I shared on Twitter that I had seen that says, in any social group of 9 people, realize that there are 81 possible social relationships right there. 9 people times 9 relationships with all the other people that are there. And the chances that every single person knows every single other person's name are incredibly slim. While you as the host may know everybody's name, I promise you, your guests do not. And think about the experience. Again, what is it like for someone who wants to bring a new significant other, or a date, or a friend, or a cousin, or a parent to a party? That parent or person attending doesn't know anybody there at all. And so to the extent that we can make our social gatherings more inclusive to new people, we can really get at that mission. And the mission is to help people make new friends, help people meet new people. Again, it can be personal or professional. You can use this for business networking if you want. You can also use it just to meet your neighbors. But I think that goal, know that that's really the purpose of these parties I talk about, is to help your friends meet other friends. And it's why I'm so passionate about this, and I know that you can be successful and get a lot of benefits.
Yeah. Another thing I love about your parties, which is actually kind of a barrier for me going to parties, is it's 2 hours. There's a clear start time. There's a clear stop time. I think as somebody who's like busier and busier, it's like, yeah, I want to meet people, but I don't want to be like staying out all night. Like there's kind of like almost like an anxiety about like having to leave and like telling people you're leaving. So what I love about your party is it has such good boundaries.
There are a lot of boundaries. That's a really good way to think about it. You have good words, Sammie. You said it gives people an excuse. It sets the boundaries. There are boundaries. They're boundaries, and they are restrictions to show people that hosting doesn't have to be as hard as you think it is. A lot of people spend too much time on the food and not enough time on the conversation.
Yes.
They spend all the time on the decorations and not enough time on the guest list and who's going to show up and what they're going to talk about. So I say that I'd rather have somebody leave my party hungry rather than bored.
Wow. That's something an Indian person would be scandalized to hear.
True.
Aghast. They would be mortified if you didn't serve food at a party. terrible,
Oh my gosh.
right?
If you didn't force feed them, then if that person didn't leave with a tummy ache, that's not a good party.
Yes. All that they would say is, Butcha, could you not have just done some samosas?
Literally. Speaking of Indian people and
Yes.
punctuality at parties
And boundaries.
So all this is really coming together. Indian people are known for being notoriously late. So
Yes.
are there any things that you do to kind of ensure people come on time?
Well, and I want to say, too, in case anyone doesn't know, culturally, Indian people are late to everything. It's the joke. We call it like Indian Standard Time. Really, any brown people, I think, are late to everything. It's just who we are.
Yeah.
And that's great. Except sometimes you're hosting a party on a Tuesday and you want people to go home. And you want them to come on time. You don't want them to be at the party for 10 minutes. So, so it's something that we are both a part of that problem. And we want to find a solution for it as well.
This guy named John Andrews in Hawaii said, I'm going to read your book, but just know I'm in Hawaii. Nobody shows up on time to stuff. We have island time out here.
Yeah.
Everybody's super casual. It is so casual and so chill. And I talked to him the day after his party, and he said, would you believe that 7 people showed up 5 minutes early?
What?
And he said, everybody showed up on time.
Oh my God.
And people were there. Nobody was like disastrously late, as he assumed. I've talked to people that have hosted this party format in Italy, in Spain, in places all around the world that are known for lateness, even in South America, who take pride in their lateness, really.
Yeah.
And you know what I think it is? I think it's the stated end time and the compressed agenda. That when you list both a start time and an end time, your guests are not performing this mental calculus of, ooh, Michelle said the party starts at 7, but she's Indian, and Sammie's going to be there, and so I'm not going to show up then. I'll show up at 7:45, and I'm working late, and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
The worst is like a barbecue that starts at 3 p.m. It's like, what time am I supposed to show up to?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so true.
So when we list a start time and an end time, number 1, that helps people show up on time. Number 2, when you host it on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, nights that are not socially competitive, but nights that frankly are also work nights or school nights for people. They know that this is not the type of party where you're going to be out all night long as a crazy rager. Number 3, when we send reminder messages that mention the start time and the end time, when we list an approximate agenda that says, 15 minutes before, last call, 8:00 p.m., the end, thank you for coming. When we give people an idea of what to expect, when we send those reminder messages, people know that this party is different.
Yeah.
People know that you're a host who actually cares. And in today's environment, when it's this attitude of like the host that's too cool to care, like that is really what pervades, is this idea of the cool host. Priya Parker talks a lot about this book in her book, The Art of Gathering.
Ooh.
And she says there's this idea of, oh, you're too cool to care. Oh, I'm just a chill host, bro. I'm not going to have name tags. I'm not going to do icebreakers. I just want people to hang out. And that's actually lazy leadership. That's actually an example of you doing a disservice for your guests. Now, look, that type of party can be fine for a family reunion or a small dinner of best friends. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't need name tags and structure when it's 5 or 6 people who all know each other very well. But when you're hosting a party like this, when your intention is to mix up your friend groups, introduce new people, and help you bring new people into your life, I highly encourage that you think strategically and critically about adding structure to make it easier for people to be successful. What do I mean successful? I mean, at the end of your party, they've talked to 5 to 7 new people. They didn't get pigeonholed in the corner with one person. They met new people who they may become friends with. I'm not saying they're all going to become friends, but maybe they leave your party with 1 or 2 phone numbers of somebody new that they met. And you know what? The next time around town they see somebody at the grocery store, maybe they know their name. Maybe they say hello because they met them before. I got an email from a woman who said, I came to one of your events in New York City, and I just want to tell you that over the past few months, I've been to other events and I've met people that I met at that event first. I felt like I knew them. And it made each of those events a little warmer and a little more friendly.
Oh, I love that.
I do too. And this idea of the cool host, it makes me think back to earlier when we were talking about how having a party and inviting people and making friends is a very vulnerable act. And I think the opposite of a cool host is the vulnerable host. It's the person that's willing to say, like, hey, I'm trying to do this. I want to throw a party. I want to meet people. I want to introduce my friends to other cool people. And I will do things like have a name tag and icebreakers. And I'm doing it to have structure and create an environment where people can meet each other. And that might not seem cool at first, but the output is that you're actually able to meet friends and connect people in your own network.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that idea. That's the point. Michelle, you get it. You know what's up.
Part of that, I think we see even when we're telling people, like, oh, if you want to meet people, use an app or Bumble BFF or approach people. And a lot of times it's the same sort of response where people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. Only weird people are on those things. I think what we don't realize is that a lot of times that judgment or that fear or whatever that feeling is actually preventing us from meeting new people versus being a little vulnerable, earnest, willing to do things that may or may not work out. That's where actually you're able to go and like meet people and make new friends and start to build a community where you are.
Yeah. I like that. And you guys talk a lot about this. You were telling me that one of your episodes that people really loved was about how to make new friends, right?
Yeah, as an adult, yep.
Yeah, it can be really hard and building that network. I think also just thinking about building that network, that it's not always for you. And that's hard for me to share because everybody says, people just want to know what's in it for them. But I know that these parties are so successful because of the value that they add to those who attend as well. And you meet people and you hear these incredible stories of people that connect after your parties. It's really a gift that keeps giving.
Yeah. And, I was going to ask you about that. How do you help ensure that, or not ensure, but how do you help people stay connected or you stay connected to people you meet at the party?
Well, I love to include those guest bios with the social links on LinkedIn and things like that. I went to a dinner party and I got to experience, I love to guest. I love to be a guest at a party because I get to do the other side. It's also stressful for me as a guest. Can you imagine?
I want to bring up the Monica.
It's really hard. I went to a Christmas party with this girl I was dating at the time. And she brought me there, and it was such a nice house, and there were 30 people there, and we'd been there for like an hour. And I turned to her after an hour, and I was like, is the host going to make a speech or something? Or when are we going to get to do a round of introductions? And she was like, what are you talking about? Like, we're here at a Christmas party. Like, can you just relax? I was like, this is a missed opportunity. Like, it's just up to me to go up and meet people. She's like, yeah, that's called a party. And I was like, okay, fine.
She's like, put down the name tags, Nick.
Yes. She's like, put down the name tags. How do I help people to make connections afterwards? I make intros. I'm happy to make intros. I have mixed feelings on should you start a WhatsApp group or an email chain or something like that. Okay. I think it's good. There's one tool and technique that I use after my parties. It's very advanced, but I'll tell you because you both are advanced. Can't believe I'm sharing this. It's called the 24-hour reply all thread. Okay? And it's for advanced hosts. Please don't do this after your first party. But I will tell people, before the last icebreaker, hey, you're all going to give some amazing things in this icebreaker. We're going to get a lot of cool suggestions. It's hard for me to write those down. I want to remember them. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to send out an email to everybody here at the party. I'm going to put you all on CC. If you don't want to be included, see me privately, send me a message. I won't include you. But otherwise, I'm going to include everybody on the email thread as a CC. And for one day only, you can blast that email thread with a link to the charity you support, a link to your GoFundMe, a small business you like, a book you love, a song you're bopping out to, a request for workout partners, whatever you want. For one day only, reply all to that thread, make your ask, give your give. But you can do that after a party. And the energy and excitement and connections that come out of those threads is absolutely incredible. And it's one of my favorite post-party artifacts or sort of energy stores. I love it.
I love that suggestion. Definitely, listener, if you are not advanced like us, feel free to skip that part. You'll get there, I promise.
Please wait. Because if you're listening to this now and you think you want to do it, here's how to make that successful. You have to seed the idea to your guests multiple times.
Mm.
And even I have to beg, plead, and twist arms to get the first people to start to reply to get momentum on that thread.
That makes a lot of sense. And I have to say, I think that overall in your book, like if somebody is listening to this podcast and they're thinking, hey, I think maybe I do want to throw a party. I do want to meet people. I do want to connect people. This book, one, is just fun, like to listen to and to read. Like you make little comments. Like in the audiobook, you're like describing your images, and I thought it was so sweet. So we really loved it. We did listen to it, and then we had to buy the book because it's a proper manual. Like it's very interesting to read, but when you are ready to throw your party, you'll want to go back, make sure you get the details right, because everything sounds good when you're just listening to it. But I think when you read the book, you're like, oh, I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to think about how I invite people, what apps to use, what websites to use. I don't have to think about what food to buy. Like the detail in this book, it is unmatched. And if you're an organized person, which I know a lot of our listeners are,
They are.
you will absolutely love this book, and you should definitely throw a party because the 2-hour cocktail party will make you the most popular person in your town.
That idea that Michelle said of being famous or being sort of popular is actually real. There's this woman who was one of the first readers of my book in New Jersey. She was an Indian lady. She worked on her business and her family. She had 2 kids. And she just didn't work on her social life. And she started to host these Wine Wednesdays to connect with some other women. And she told me after about 4 parties, she said, Nick, I'm like a celebrity in my town.
Yes. And the thing I love about that too is that when I hear that in the conversations I have with my friends is it's not just about the popularity. Like even that can seem, I think, overwhelming because like you were saying in the beginning, people have work, people have their kids, people have their spouses. If you want to make 15 different friends, the traditional way to do it right now is to have 15 different meetings with them or dinners with them. And actually having one party, even though that involves more people at once, it's actually easier, I believe, to make friends and to connect with people because you don't have to do 30 different 30-minute meetings. You can actually have it all in one place. And so that's amazing because like you get to meet all these people, you get to become more popular, but you're actually not doing more. You're not spending more time on meeting new people.
The thing I like to say is in the time it takes to watch a movie on Netflix, you can connect with 15 to 20 different people.
Yeah.
And it is so efficient. I love that you said that, Michelle, that, it doesn't take you more time.
Yes. And I think that's a great place to end too, Nick. I just want to say, one thing we talk about on Build a Wealthy Spirit is how much we think it's important to do something that like you're aligned with and that makes you excited and that you're really passionate about. And this book, like the 2-hour cocktail party, it's so clear, both in reading it and even just having this conversation with you and following your work. Like this is something that I think it just feels like it's aligned with you. And I think that's why you're having so much success because it brings you alive. You're so passionate about it. And it makes us excited. Like we read the book and we're like, okay, like when can we start throwing a party? So I just want to say that I think that's amazing. And if people do want to follow your work, find the book, can you tell us where we can point them and we can share those in our show notes as well?
So I have a website, which is nickgray.net, and I have some articles where I talk about how to host a housewarming party, how you can use my book to host a baby shower or a book swap or things like that. I'll include those in the show notes. But my goal, really, what I could ask anything, is if you think you want to accept my challenge to host a party, to send me an email and to reach out to me, because my goal is to talk to 500 people that actually host a party. I think the loneliness epidemic or the friendship recession is real. And that idea that we can help end that by hosting these little parties is so powerful. And I'm seeing it happen one party at a time. So please send me an email if you want an accountability buddy, if you want my checklist of 17 things to do before your next party, I'll send it to you on email. My address is nick@nickgraynews.com. That's nick@nickgraynews.com. And Nick Gray News is my social media handle too. So say hi. I'm active on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all those places at Nick Gray News. I think we all can use a new friend.
Yes. And I can confirm I follow Nick. I follow his newsletter. He is very responsive, so I definitely encourage everybody to check him out, check out the book, and we are very excited. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. This was an amazing conversation. We think people are going to really have so many great takeaways and are going to be inspired to read the book because we loved it and we highly recommend it, so they definitely should.
Yes, it was so much fun.
Thank you for having me as a guest on Build a Wealthy Spirit. This was great.
Takeaways.
Sammie, what a lovely conversation with Nick.
Yes, I had so much fun talking to him, and I'm obsessed with this book.
We're genuinely big fans of the book.
We really are. It is so organized. He literally tells you what to email people, at what time frames to remind them, what kind of foods to have at the party, with the breakdown of how much of each type of food. It is literally a manual on how to host a cocktail party, but it is also the seed of connection.
Yes. You know, one thing I really love is that we talk about with Build a Wealthy Spirit. Part of that, obviously, is this foundation, making sure you're able to do the things that you want to do in your life and to align your values. But another big part of that is finding community, building community, finding like-minded people, being able to connect with like-minded people. And I think that's just something that becomes harder and harder as you become older. And so I love this book, The 2-Hour Cocktail Party, because Nick really does give you the tools. Like, he's clearly somebody who's done this many, many times, has broken it down to like a science. And it's not about being this super sociable, gregarious person. It's actually just about having a structure in place so that you can ease your own anxieties and host an amazing party.
It's true, Michelle. I remember in the book he talks about how when they look at adults and they ask them when was the last time you made a new friend, the average was 5 years ago. Yes.
You know, Sammie, it's interesting because I was just at a wedding this weekend and I've seen my friends from like 10 years ago, which was so amazing. Saw my friend Pooja get married. But a common theme we were talking about is that like everybody is moved to these different cities. And we kept saying it's so difficult to meet new people when you move to a new city and you don't know that many people. So I'm not even surprised to hear that.
Yes. And with building a wealthy spirit, it's also about finding a community of people who are like-minded and have similar values. And I think sometimes as we get older, like for example, like we don't drink anymore. You know, we have different values than we did 10 years ago. But maybe we don't have friends that exactly have those exact same values. How do you meet people? And then when you meet people, how do you actually connect with them? And I think the cocktail party is such a great idea because it literally brings people together, and it's totally an excuse for you to say, hey, would you love to come to my cocktail party?
Yes. And if you are listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, I want to read this book, I want to throw a cocktail party, guess what? We're going to give away 5 copies of The 2-Hour Cocktail Party by Nick Gray. Send us an email, buildawealthyspirit@gmail.com, or you can go on our website, buildawealthyspirit.com, and if you're one of the first 5 people to comment or email us, you got yourself a book. And honestly, regardless, you should read it because it's such a good one. It's one that if you are even, if like a seed, like an inkling is there where you're like, this is a problem I have, maybe I should read this book at some point. I actually think you should read it before you're ready because I felt so inspired to throw a party after this. Like I was like, okay, let's read the book. And hopefully at some point in the future, maybe it'll be relevant. No, it's going to be the kind of thing that when you read it, it's going to get you excited.
And we were inspired, and we are going to throw a party, and we're going to tell you about it in one of our community times.
Yes, within the next month is our goal. We're going to throw a party, people. We will be with you in the party planning.
2 months.
And we have a lot of anxiety about it, if I'm being honest. It is a vulnerable thing, actually, when you don't know people and you're trying to invite people. And I'm feeling all those things Nick talked about. Will anybody show up? Who will show up? Do I have friends? Am I a nice person? Does everybody in the world? No. Nick does such a good job in his book handling all those fears, getting in front of them. I do feel a lot more confident that we can do this because we have the 2-Hour Cocktail Party in our pocket.
Yes, and if you do it, tell us and definitely email Nick because he wants to hear about everybody's parties.
He genuinely does. Like I follow him on Twitter. He's always sharing that people are doing these parties. He writes about it in his newsletter. And honestly, like he has already done so many amazing things in his life. He actually has a really interesting background. He's already had so much success in his life. Like this is something that I think is just a passion for him. Like, he's so enthusiastic, so encouraging about helping people meet new people and build community. So we definitely recommend the 2-hour cocktail party.
Community time!
Welcome to our community time.
So this week, I got a text from one of our listeners, Kevin, and he was listening to our podcast, and we were actually showing up on the thing on your dashboard that shows your mileage. Our faces were within this little...
Like on his car?
Yeah, on his car.
What?
Like, he entered the car, was listening to the podcast, and then our faces were literally popped up there, like where it says like 10 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, just like watching him drive.
I love that because it's like, are you 60 miles per hour into your wealthy spirit? Are you going 100 miles per hour? And there's us, our little smiling faces. But also very fancy car.
Yes. Fancy, but not excessively fancy.
I don't know. I don't have any screens in my car.
Also high rent. Okay, so environmentally friendly.
That's true. Also, we are not the standard for any type of fanciness for cars.
It was actually a Honda. So let me just say that y'all know I am a Honda fan, okay? So, love it.
I love it, Sammie. I also want to give a couple of shout outs. There were people at the wedding, Dipesh, Anisha, Twinkle, Pooja, my friend Sayanga, who all told me that they're listening to the podcast and have listened to the podcast. So I love that. I love going to events and realizing that people took a little listen and listened to the Build a Wealthy Spirit. So thank you all. And
oh my God, thank you. And congratulations to Pooja.
Yes, congratulations. Thank you once again to all the women who gave us clips for her Bachelorette episode. Also, I just got to say, I did accidentally send last week's episode out
we have to talk
early.
about this, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you're a true fan, you may have noticed that an episode came out early. I actually noticed for that reason myself.
Sammie is a true fan. I did not notice because I was delirious when I did it. And when Sammie texted me, I panicked. And of course, my internet wasn't great. And I was just refreshing the podcast page like, no, there's no way. There's no way. I just put it up there because we did it a week early because we knew I was going to be gone. And I was like, let me just put it to publish later.
Yes.
It was probably me. I mean, had literally like no sleep.
If you're worried that we're not going to be publishing consistently or that we're not going to be here every Tuesday, don't be scared.
Or that we're going to start double posting. Maybe you're not scared. Maybe you're excited about that. No,
sorry. If you were excited that we might start doing 2 a week,
not now.
We don't have time for that right now.
No.
But don't fear. We will be there every Tuesday. Taco Tuesday and Us Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Build a Wealthy Spirit Taco Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Build a Wealthy Taco Tuesday.
Now seems like a great time to end. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, reach out to us, buildawealthyspirit.com, buildawealthyspirit@gmail.com. Either of those ways, you can let us know that you want a copy of the 2-hour cocktail party, and we will send it over to you. And just so you know, people have been asking for the books.
Yes.
And they've been receiving them.
And their lives have been changed.
Yes, exactly. So thank you guys. We love you. We'll talk to you next week.
And most importantly, be sure to join us next week as we put down the rule book and rethink the status quo.